With the latest on an AEW star's contract and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. It appears that stars in AEW are being left in the dark on creative direction, as Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio. If you follow AEW, you know that a lot of these things are being decided a lot later than previous. Guys are getting their information about what they're doing later, and decisions are being made later. That's just how it is. At times, it's the day of the show, and they don't know. It's almost like at times the way we used to talk about WWE, which is also very frustrating for talent. Following his match against Solo Sikoa at a WWE live event in London, LA Knight cut a promo where he sent a message to Roman Reigns. Here's the clip.
Let me talk to him.
Yeah!
First, I take care of Junior Tribal Chief Jimmy Uso.
Yeah!
Tonight, Solo goes crashing through the table. Matter of fact, they call him the street champion. Oh, what street? You ain't the street champion of my street. Nah. I'll tell you who that champion is. It's this guy. Yeah, and I'll tell you what. In 6 days, only 6 days from Crown Jewel, and I will be holding the Crown Jewel of the WWE. The beginning of the end for the Tribal Chief. The beginning of the end for the Bloodline, and the beginning of the LA Knight era, because there can be no other way, because I made it that way. And that's not an insult, that is just a fact of life.
Yeah!
When you're going to see your little Tribal Chief, make sure you remind him, because whether we're in London, whether we're in Saudi Arabia, whether we're in the United States, anywhere around the world, they'll all ask you, whose game is it? And you hear the whole damn world saying,
LA Knight!
After having surgery for appendicitis, former WWE star Davey Boy Smith Jr. would find out he was suffering from diverticulitis and needed to have part of his colon removed. Giving an update on his health, he said this on McGuire on Wrestling. Basically, I had some symptoms that were extremely painful right around Canadian Thanksgiving time. I was having dinner, and usually I'm the type that Thanksgiving dinner, I'm having at least a couple plates full of everything. I was extremely constipated and not feeling good. I was barely able to finish off a plate. So then the next day I was just putting it off on, oh, maybe something I ate wasn't that good, and everything else seemed fine. The pain and swelling in my stomach started to really increase, and it was getting really painful. It was like a swelling. Picture your stomach here just swelling and the rest of your stomach's flat. It's just an extreme pain. Like if someone is nonstop booting you in the guts or shooting you in the guts with a shotgun. I can't say what that feels like, but that's what I could compare it to. So then I went to the walk clinic, and the doctor there test my urine. She says that there's a high white blood cell count and there's blood in the urine too. I couldn't see it, but they examined it differently. So we chalked it off to being a urinary tract infection, and it'll be better in a few days, and take antibiotics. So I said, all right. She goes, but if it does get worse, go to emergency. So to see if you have diverticulitis, they have to do what's called a CT scan. They go, well, we can't get you in for that, but we have to take care of this first. We can get you in for a CT scan, but it's going to be in a few hours, and in a few hours we're going to be doing surgery. So they cut me open, and then they found that I have something called diverticulosis, which is a little bit different from diverticulitis. It's the same thing, but when they opened me up, they saw that my colon was very infected and swollen. Basically, what diverticulosis is where they cut, like Brock Lesnar had a foot of his coming cut, and I think his came back again, or it happened like mine, and then it was diverticulosis, which I'm praying doesn't happen, where they cut a foot of his colon. Whereas mine, they just just trimmed inch off. They trimmed the infected area. It's not as bad as cutting a foot off your colon. When you think of foot, you think, oh, but you expand your colon out and stretch it, it's 12 feet or something. So then they came in and they vacuumed a bunch of the infection out, and they do what's like a trimming, like a haircut. Then on severe antibiotics after that because the colon's infected. Basically what happens is there's the issue with the colon, but it's caused by the appendix. And what they said to me, I'm just a rare case, but some people have a longer colon than others. Mine was pushing against my appendix. When it got infected, it was just pushing more into it. Whatever's blocking the appendix there, it's causing, it was both. So then they cut and trimmed, so I have 3 different incisions in my stomach now. The good news is it looks like I'll be alright, and I gotta get a colonoscopy in a month or 2 to make sure everything's good and just hopefully it doesn't come back. Brock Lesnar's came back, and he had to get the diverticulosis, which is the full foot of his colon removed. I can't attribute this to anything. People said that in Brock Lesnar's case, oh, well, it's because he's been eating wild animals that he's shooting in the wild. My Aunt Allison had the same thing, and a lot of people say it's genetic. My Aunt Allison's a healthy librarian, and believe me, she's not eating wild meat that she's hunting. Believe me, she's not eating wild meat that she's hunting. She's eating stuff from Safeway, but they can't attribute it to a certain kind of diet. It happens. It could be hereditary. Like my Aunt Allison has the exact same thing, and hers was okay after a while, so it's just knock on wood and hope for the best. Hopefully I'm back in the gym slowly the next week or so. They gave me a good 4-week prognosis that even though it was the appendix being removed, which is a 2 to 4 week, it's more like a month. When you get the diverticulosis, it's a good month of recovery. We're going on week 3 of it now, so I should be good. It's just going to be a slow recovery, and I'll be good by December 16th, and as long as we're going and I'm training and feeling good, I just got to take it day by day and see where we go. But as far as I know, I'll be good by then. It's just going to be a rough time getting back in the gym. It's a shock I've never had. Mentioning what he thinks AEW is setting up for Sting's retirement bout at Revolution 2024, former WWE writer Vince Russo said on his podcast, "I was saying this all along as a fan and a friend. My God, he had nothing left to prove to anybody. Sting would have every reason in the world not to do it, bro. He's not going to be able to say no. If you're seeing Flair rubbing elbows with Tony Khan and in the same breath, I got one more, that's the one against Sting." With his AEW contract set to expire on January 1st, world champion of the company MJF said this about potentially making the move to WWE after his match with Kenny Omega on Collision. "I'll be honest, I still don't know what I'm going to do for the bidding war of 2024, but what I do know is that when I get the opportunity to wrestle the best bout machine, Kenny Omega, it tends to sway my opinions a little bit." In some unfortunate news, a star from the show Friends is no longer with us, as Ringside News wrote. "This is a very sad time because a pop culture icon and 1/6 of one of the most famous sitcoms in history has passed away. Matthew Perry, better known as Chandler Bing for millions, passed away at 54 years old. The LA Times has confirmed, along with other outlets, that Matthew Perry, known for his role in Friends, was discovered deceased on Saturday in his Los Angeles residence, submerged in a hot tub. Law enforcement reported that authorities arrived at Matthew Perry's home at around 4 p.m. on October 28th after he was found unresponsive. The cause of death was not disclosed, and there was no indication of foul play at this time. The Los Angeles Police Department's robbery homicide detectives are currently looking into the circumstances surrounding his passing. Those in the pro wrestling world reacted to this as Mick Foley wrote, "Rest in peace, Matthew Perry. I am really so sorry to hear of the death of actor Matthew Perry. I am such a big fan of Friends. I've been wearing a Friends shirt the past 2 days. And Perry's Chandler Bing character was the one I identified with most. My heart goes out to his family, friends, and his many fans." Layla Gray, Cassie Lee, and Carmella posted their support as Alexa Bliss said, "This is beyond sad." As Bryan Danielson is out of action after suffering a broken orbital bone, he will be needing surgery. This was said regarding his AEW contract by Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio. Hopefully he can finish the next however many months he has. He didn't put a timeline exactly on next year when he's going to be done. You know, in theory his contract would be over in September. Obviously, Tony Khan could extend it, but Tony Khan isn't going to be a dirty guy if Bryan wants it to be over. You know, that he's going to be finished at the end of his contract and he wants to be be finished. There's nothing you can do if the guy wants to quit. Ringside News said it was also noted that he can't go to WWE if Bryan Danielson quits, but odds are Bryan Danielson wouldn't want to go back to WWE. He really means it when he says that he wants to wrap up his in-ring career and slow down considerably. Now it appears that we are approaching that date far sooner than anyone would really prefer. Sadly, he may miss NJPW Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th as well. With him previously suffering a concussion, it was thought he would have to retire from in-ring action last year, as Meltzer added. I mean, he'll do these incredible matches for a while and then he gets hurt. He lays out for a couple of months and comes back. When he had the concussion last year, I mean, there was fear that was it, and he may not be able to come back. Tony Khan even said once that, I was at this point that I may have to pay him for the remainder of his contract and just accept that, it's over because of the concussion. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.